James, he didn't wake up yesterday thinking, you know, today feels like a good day to make yet a deeper case for myself as the greatest basketball player of all time with great numbers and a stellar beard. And yet, that's exactly what the guy did. Cavs beat the Nets in a close one last night. LeBron James picked up his 12th triple-double, 31 points, 12 boards, 11 assists. But this wasn't their best win. 9 ties and 25 lead changes against the Brooklyn Nets. Coach, how worried should the Cavs be about just barely beating this team?
They shouldn't be. They should be happy they got a win. Remember, they came back and lost at home to Washington, lost at home to San Antonio.
Yeah.
This is time for them to make hay because this is the big, long homestand. It started out that way before going on this 6-game West Coast trip. So they needed to win games to maintain that 3rd spot or try to move up to the 2nd spot and catch Boston. Brooklyn, and I said this way back when everybody was celebrating that Cleveland got Brooklyn's 1st-round pick, I said, don't be dancing too much because Brooklyn's not that bad this year. And they've done it losing their #1 point guard, Jeremy Lin, losing their backup point guard, D'Angelo Russell, for the majority of the season, playing a guy named Spencer Dinwiddie, who
turned into a good
he's
player.
a pretty darn good player right now. Okay, people know him from All-Star Weekend. And all of a sudden, they're in games, 15, 18 games decided by 5 points or less, where every other coach is sweating their way at the end of the game. Can we beat these guys? So a win is a win.
How different? Because I was at the Cavs-Nets game in Brooklyn earlier this year that Brooklyn ended up winning when the Cavs seemed totally disinterested in playing any type of defense. They have better bodies to play defense now. They have younger, longer, more athletic bodies. Did it look, why do you think their defense was so bad last night? Was it just shot making by the Nets, lack of attention to detail by the Cavs, lack of effort, or just the guys weren't all on the same page?
Back in the beginning of the season, what you said about having no interest in playing, they had no interest in playing with each other before they made this deal on the 8th of February. This was a toxic locker room. You had too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. You had different agendas. You had 2 guys that were upset that they weren't in Boston any longer, and now they were in Cleveland. And we used to do it like this in Boston. Well, you're not in Boston. You're in Cleveland now, so try and do it Cleveland's way. You waited 37 games to get a guy back that averaged 29 points a game the year before that was supposed to be the replacement for Kyrie Irving. When he finally comes back, he's on the last year of his $8 million, 8.2, whatever it is, $1 million contract, knowing that if he had stayed in Boston, not got hurt, he was a guy that was going to get probably a 4-year deal, around $20 million a year, because 2 times second-team All-NBA, leading scorer in the 4th quarter in the NBA a year ago. Now he comes in, and in his mind, he's saying, I've got to show him who I am, because Cleveland's going to give me this contract at the end of the year. He wasn't ready to do that, and he forgot he was playing with LeBron James. That was the biggest thing.
Let me ask you, like, you look at this team, and you were a defensive coach. They look like they have the youth and athleticism, the length, to be a really good defensive team. What do they need to work on to get to that level come playoff time?
Now, this is a tough answer, but you'll understand what I mean by this. Right now, the coaching staff, in their minds, they have all this turmoil going on because they have a certain team today. They may change it tomorrow, and 3 or 4 weeks down the road, it's going to change again when Kevin Love comes back. Consensus around the NBA. The Cavs are best when LeBron's at 4. That's what many, many people will tell you. But when Love comes back, LeBron goes back to 3. Jetty Osman goes back to where? 2nd unit?
Right.
If you think about the 2nd unit, that means their starters would be Hill, JR, LeBron, Love, Thompson in the middle. Who's their 2nd unit? Clarkson, Hood, Osman at 3, Green at 4, Nance at 5. Oh, by the way, I left out Korver.
Right.
There's no room for him.
Yeah.
So either Osman's not playing anymore and Korver's in there. And this is what's going through the mind. So now when you're trying to put your rotations together and get your defense set, these guys, their minutes are changing every night. 1 minute, Nance gets 24, 25 minutes. The next night, he gets 13 minutes or 11 minutes. And you know, NBA players are comfortable knowing what's expected, when they're coming in, when they're coming out.
You mentioned the Cavs are best when LeBron's at the 4. Would you consider going back to when Love gets back, what they had at the beginning of the year, which is LeBron at the 4 and Love at the 5, playing the small, almost offense-only lineup?
Look, this is my hunch. That was out of respect from Tyronn Lue, who was in the league 13 years, I think, as a player, the respect Tyronn Lue had for Dwayne Wade. that he did not want to start out Dwayne Wade coming off the bench. So out of respect, he put him in the starting lineup. You know what that did? That really upset J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith hasn't been the same player, close to the same player. The only time he's played close to it is the day of the draft when he came back and said, I thought I was getting traded.
Day of the trade deadline. Day of the trade deadline.
Exactly. He thought he was getting traded. Then the next 2 or 3 games after that, he played with high energy. He made shots. He got on the floor. You remember the save going out of bounds where he threw it 3/4 of the length of the floor right into Nance's hands for the layup that.
See, I've wondered if, because JR is so streaky, you know, especially now. I wondered if you should start Hood instead of JR, but you feel like you can't do that just because of JR's psyche. He'd be lost for the rest of the year.
You're going to lose him again. And the same thing happened. I was getting back to your point about the beginning of the season. Thompson was taken out of the starting line.
Thompson got hurt.
So now you got a guy who has taken you, been part of 3 straight finals in the Eastern Conference, and you said, JR, you're not there, and Tristan, you're not there. Then Tristan finally goes back into the starting lineup, gets hurt, and misses a month. Okay, so I think when Love comes back, Love will be at 4, Thompson will be at 5, and LeBron goes back over to the 3 spot. And now you've got to really think about what your rotations are.
Is that just, though, because of egos? It may not, that's not the best basketball move, but you have to do it because of the egos, or what?
If it keeps things intact, meaning everybody's comfortable, everybody's happy, everybody's playing hard, what difference does it make if I start you in an NBA game and after 3 minutes I substitute? I mean, there were times where I would talk to a player in specific, and I'll tell you it was Gerald Wilkins when he was there. And there were certain nights that I felt we would be better with Gerald matched up against the second unit guy from the other team. So I would tell Gerald, listen, I'm going to pull you quick tonight. Just so if they come with that guy, you're coming to match up against him. I think we're better with you matched up against him. And Gerald was like, great, whatever you want. He bought in. He understood why I was doing it. I'm not trying to embarrass him. It's his starting spot. But after 2 or 3 minutes, sub, and we got our rotation.
Coach, one of the things we were talking about here a lot was, and you got a chance to watch this team pretty closely last night, was how many threes they're taking. Broussard thinks they're a little too reliant on a 3, and their 2 losses, their most recent ones to the Wizards and the Spurs, they were, what, 8 for 34, 8 for 35. Last night, they brought that number down a little bit. Having seen what you've seen and knowing this offense a little bit, where do you think, how reliant should they be on that long shot?
You can answer that question 2 ways. Number one, the reason they've been to 3 straight finals is because of the 3-ball. That has been a major weapon for the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last 3 years and them going to the NBA Finals. However, when you're complaining that referees aren't sending you to the line enough, you need to stop and look how many times you're shooting the ball from 18 feet out past the 3-point line versus taking it aggressively to the basket. And likewise, how many guys do they have on the team that can drive the ball to the basket besides LeBron James up until they made this deal? Now we see a couple other guys that can put it down a little bit.
Coach, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was great. Always good to see you. All right, coming up, the Big Ten tournament starts today. Stephen Bardo is here to break it all down next on First Things First.